So what we're going to start with is looking at, so last week we would have stopped at the topic just before formulae and functions. So the last thing we would have looked at is resizing our column widths and row heights. Is that correct? Or you guys don't remember? You guys remember looking at column width and row heights? Because I think we stopped just before formulae and functions. Anyone that remember? Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, let's go through the homework first that I would have given you. These are your questions here. So let's see if you got the right answers. Good. So the first question is, list 3 examples to explain how spreadsheets are used. So you just give me the example, the name, as to how you can use spreadsheet, why you would use spreadsheet basically. Trevon, give me one.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Michael on. Yeah, so why do you use spreadsheets?
Yeah, just give me one reason, one example.
Sir, to organize data.
To organize data, okay. Well, Sahid didn't do the homework. So, Nicholas, what do you have? Wow, Nicholas just left. Tia.
Yes, sir.
What is one example of how of using a spreadsheet?
Give me one example of a spreadsheet.
Of using a spreadsheet. Of how spreadsheet.
But I don't know the phrase if you said like that.
Well, just give me the answer that you have in your book that you did for the homework.
Oh, I have one example of a spreadsheet is payroll.
Very good. So one example is payroll. Nicholas, you're back. Let me hear your example.
Yes, sir. The number one.
Yeah, still a number one. Another example.
Producing graphs and charts.
Producing graph and charts. Good. Jonathan, anything else? Anything different than that you have?
Preparation of payroll.
Preparation. Here, that's a payroll. So.
Oh, for real? Oh, shoot.
So those are some examples. So if you don't have them, I'm calling them out. One is budget. Another one is financial statements. Another one is invoices or payroll. So those are 3 examples: budget, financial statements, invoices, or payrolls. So the second question, copy and fill in the blanks in the following sentences. A is an application program that allows text, numbers, and formulae to be entered into a grid of rectangular cells. Chitra?
Sir, a spreadsheet.
Good. So spreadsheet is the answer to 2A. A spreadsheet is an application program that allows text, numbers, and formulae to be entered into a grid of rectangular cells. B, in a spreadsheet, each something is given a letter and each something is given a number. Hudson?
In a spreadsheet, each column is given a letter and each row is given a number.
Very good. So the columns always have the letters and the rows always have the numbers. C, D12 specifies a cell in something D and something 12. Octavia just left the meeting. Ashley?
D12 specifies the cell in column D and row 12.
Good, very good. So column D and row 12, because letters are always columns and rows are always numbers. 2D, to add together the values in cell A1 and A2, you would type the formula, which would be Angelina?
Equal A1 plus A2.
Very good. Equal A1 plus A2. Octavia, how you know it? As soon as I come to ask you the question, you just left the class.
No, the internet cut off. It bumped off some rate, so I get knocked out.
Okay. So 2D, the answer is equal A1 plus A2. So 2E, to subtract the value in A2 from the value in A1, you would type the formula. Octavia?
Equal A2 minus A1.
Anybody could help her?
Equal A1 minus A2.
Very good. A1 minus A2. You're taking the value from A1. So A1 needs to be first.
Huh? What? Why?
If you put A2 first, you would have gotten a negative value.
So why you can't get a negative value? What's wrong with a negative value?
Why would you want a negative value? Would you want a
It doesn't matter.
if the
Nothing is
negative
wrong with the
value is
negative
money
value.
now, would you want a negative value in terms of money?
You just oh my god.
Do you want negative 10,000? You want mango 10,000?
No.
Good. So the answer is equal A1 minus A2. That's for 2E. 2F. Spreadsheets allow you to perform something calculations or something modeling. Trevon?
Sir, mathematical calculations.
Not the answer we're looking for. Nicholas?
Yes, sir.
2F. Spreadsheets allow you to perform something calculations or something modeling.
Wait. Ooh. Alright, I forget to go on.
Okay,
So which question?
2F. It's your turn now, Kia.
What if calculations and forecast modeling?
Very good. What if calculations and forecasting models? Which part of the notes is that? Look, is right here. They also have advanced features such as what if analysis and forecast modeling. The answer to the questions are always in the book, always in the notes. So 2G, a popular spreadsheet program is Jonathan. Alright, give me 2 minutes. I'll be back.
Alright, sir.
Right, I am back. Is everyone there?
Aye, aye, Captain.
Yes, sir.
Alright, so let's continue. We left off at 2G, a popular spreadsheet program. Jonathan?
Microsoft Excel.
Microsoft Excel, very good. Y'all know of any other spreadsheet program? Say for instance, Excel crash now, and you are using another program now.
Google Spreadsheets.
Very good. But it's actually called Google Sheets, not Spreadsheets. Google Sheets. So that's another one. There's another company by the name of Libra, I think. They have like a similar set of Libra.
Yes, sir. LibreOffice.
Yeah, they have like their own set of like compatible equivalent version of Microsoft. I wonder if it's free or you gotta pay. I'll try that today. Anyway, so question 3. So if 33 was entered into B4 and 3 was entered into cell C4, write the formula to be used. So we're using those two cells, B4 and C4. What formula would you write for A? Add the contents of B4 and C4. Chitra?
Sir, the answer is equal B4 plus C.
Good. Simple. 3B multiply cell B4 by 2. Chelsea?
Equals B4 asterisk 2. Yeah.
Asterisk. There's 2 asterisk.
Just one second.
Okay. I was wondering if you double multiplying. So 3C divide cell C4 by 3, Atavia.
Sir, equals C4 division sign 3.
What would the division sign be in our case?
Slash on the computer.
Slash, which one is the slash? There's 2 slash on the computer, you know.
How am I supposed to know the one that the one that going from the right to the left?
Good, that one.
I think. Yeah.
So there's 2 kinds of slash. There's the backward slash and then there's the forward slash. So basically you can think that to the left is back and to the right is forward. So if it starts from the right to the left, it is a forward slash. And if it starts from the left to the right, it's the backward slash. But for division, we always use the forward slash, which starts from the right to the left. 3D, subtract cell B4 from cell C4. Ashley?
Sir, equal C4 minus B4.
Good, very good. So I hope those who did the homework got all of those answers correct. It's pretty simple of how to create a formula. So the next question 4 is asking you for the parts. Identify what each label is referring to. So A, Angelina, what A is referring to?
column with letters,
Column and
column with letters,
good. So it's referring to the column with the letter, and in this case it's referring to column F. Trevon, what is B referring to? Alright, hold on, Trevon. Trevon, hold on. Let's Sahid try to guess this one. Sahid, what do you think? What is B referring to? Question 4 in the diagram here. What is B referring to? What is B pointing to? Cell or C3? Both. Both is correct. It's pointing to a cell and it is pointing to a cell C3. So that is correct. Can you guys remember what the green line around the cell means?
Sir, it states that it is active cell.
Good. It's an active cell. So it could have also meant that also. It's pointing to an active cell. C. Trevon, what's C pointing to?
Sir, that's the row headings.
Good. Very good. The row heading or the row. Good. So that's it for your homework. I hope you guys got all the questions correct. Right, Jonathan?
Something like that.
Well, I hope you got the correct answer tonight. So what we would have looked at last week is we would have looked at how a spreadsheet is made up, rows and columns. We use it with formulas. And we looked at what is an active cell. We looked at cell reference, which is basically like the name of the cell, a combination of column letter and row number. Then we looked at the types of data. Kia, what are the types of data?
Sir, please repeat the question.
What are the types of data? You want to repeat it again?
Yes, sir.
And repeat it slow so you get it right. What are the types of data?
I would love to answer this question, but I don't know, sir.
Hudson?
Sir, I could say something.
Yeah.
Not
There are
towards
labels on
that,
values.
towards Kia. Right?
One is not something too bad.
Oh, jeez. Sir,
Miss McClintock, the answer is right there. God damn, like
my thing, was blank. Screen was blank. It took long to load.
Here, why you lying?
No,
You just didn't know the answer.
No, for real, my screen took long to load sometimes. Hence, when I was reading, had a problem.
Anyway. So the answer is right there. Labels and values are our two types of data that you would find in spreadsheet. So let me give Kia another try. Kia, what are labels? Well, you answered it right too again.
Labels. Yeah.
What are they?
Non-numeric data.
What does that mean?
They are non-numeric data.
And what does that mean?
Here it
Somebody tell you something.
There is no numbers, yeah.
It's not numbers as yet.
I said yeah, not yet.
So your answer is correct. It's non-numeric data. Atavia, what does non-numeric data mean?
Sir, please repeat the question, sir.
What does non-numeric data mean?
Sir, non-numeric data is data that consists. What? I'm confused.
Sir, I could just do it.
Yes, go ahead.
Alright. Non-numeric data basically is data that does not contain numbers. Like
Actually, that is incorrect because
What? No, nah. Wait. No. 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 Wait.
Oops.
Sir, let me answer, sir.
yeah, go ahead.
Sir, non-numeric data is our data that doesn't include, that only include words. Right, sir?
This is the intelligence part, no?
So,
Sir, is like
So
numbers that are not like calculated or can be calculated, like years and stuff like that.
so non-numeric, it refers to yeah, the answer was correct in the terms of the term non-numeric. It is basically anything that is
I was.
not a number. But
I was
with a spreadsheet, a label, with it being non-numeric, it means that it can contain letters, it can contain symbols, it can even contain numbers also. But just that, it is not considered a number. It is non-numeric. It can contain a number, but it's not viewed as a number. So, like Chelsea just mentioned, um, a year 2019 is a number, but it will be considered a label in this case here because we won't use it for any calculation. Values now are the numeric data that you would use in calculation. So only values you would calculate with. Let me see who remember this here. When you see this here, Angelina, what does it mean? Nicholas.
Sorry, because the value is too big to fit inside the cell.
The answer is right there once again. You read it or you know it?
Sorry, partially, half.
So once the data is too big for the cell, it will show up as this, as hashtags basically. So you just have to do what in order for the data to show. What do you have to do to see all the data? Anybody?
sir, enlarge the cell, like extend the cell line.
Good.
Something
You,
like that.
you make the cell wider. So you can either drag the cell and make it wider, or you can use a feature called what? What do you call the feature that just automatically resize the cell?
Autofit.
Autofit. So you can either manually resize it or you can use autofit. So you could have either drag between the two cells or double click between the two in order to do the autofit. So today we are continuing with formulae and functions, and we're gonna look at the other topics also. So let's get started. Angelina, you can read for us.
Formula and function. When a formula is created, the result is displayed in the cell, and formula is displayed in the formula bar. If a number used in a formula changes, Excel will automatically recalculate the formula and a new result will be displayed. To start a formula, enter an equal sign, then enter the addresses of the cells to be used in the calculation. The arithmetic operation specify the arithmetic specify the arithmetic operations based on the calculation.
Good. So let's have a look at the spreadsheet. So it's saying here that to start a formula, you always start with an equal sign and you put the addresses of the cell. So notice there's different terms you can use. You can use cell address, cell reference, cell name. They all basically refer to the same thing. You just need to remember we're using the names of the cell. So you can put whatever cell that you want, put your operator, plus, minus, multiply, whatever the case may be, and put your other cells and do your calculation. Now, when you are creating your formula, the results will always be shown inside of the cell. So if you click on the cell, you will only see the results unless you double click on it in order to edit it, then you will see back your formula. Now what if you want to see the formula and the results at the same time? Well, that is why you have the formula bar. If you look at the top here, here is your formula bar, and inside your formula bar, notice I clicked away and there's nothing inside of it. But if I go back to B2, I can see my result of 0. And when I look at the top here, I can see my formula that is inside that cell. So there's two boxes that you need to remember. The name box that is on the left, and the formula bar, which contains the formula for that cell inside of this bar here. Now, the main benefit of spreadsheet and its formulas is its ability to do recalculations and to do recalculations very quickly. So for instance, if I have some information here, maths and English, say maths is 12, English is 10, and I create a formula B2 plus B3, enter, I get 22. Now what if maths change? Maths change to 20. Now normally you'd have to go into this formula. If you were doing it manually, you'd have to write back your formula or go back into the calculator and change the value and so on. But with spreadsheet now, you can easily change this 12 to 20 and the result will be automatically calculated. It doesn't matter where you change it to, what number, it will always be automatically recalculated once you change the cells that you use in that formula. So that's the main benefit there of formula in spreadsheet. So this is just a small scale. Imagine it on a larger scale. Like if you have a large table now, instead of when you change values, then you got to go and add back up everything again. So like do a final total every time something changes. This every time you change a value, it will automatically recalculate that value. So you don't have to worry about re-adding everything. So these are some of the operators that you'll be using. Plus is for addition, minus is to subtract, asterisk is to multiply, the forward slash is to divide, and the percentage symbol is for percentage. Alright, so the next paragraph goes to Ashley.
A formula can be keyed directly into a cell, or you use the mouse to point to the cells you want to include. Formulae can also be copied by using the copy and paste buttons. A function is defined as a built-in mathematical formula included in Excel. Functions are used for common calculations in business and personal use. Four common functions are sum, automatically totals a column or row, average adds the value in the range and divides by the number of cells in the range, max used to determine the largest value in a range, and min used to determine the smallest value in a range.
Good.
Auto
That's it. So you can put it inside a cell or then point it in a cell, blah blah blah. Okay. So another thing that you can do with formula is basically copy that formula. So left. So say for instance you have let's just back the same table. So what you can do, say for instance now you create a table. At the top here is maths, and then we have English, then we have IT. So we have Kia here, we have Mango here, we have Sahid here. Now Kia got 12, 13, 12, 14, 12, that's good. So say at the bottom here now, say we want to total up these results here, all of them. If I create my formula here of B2 plus B3 plus B4, I get my results. Start at 7 there. It added up all three cells. Now, instead of me going to this cell here and typing in all of that again, instead of going here and typing in that's C2 plus C3 plus C4, are going to take a lot of time. So imagine if this was something larger. So what you can do instead is copy it. So I can right click here, copy, and I can paste it over here. I notice it automatically changed to the cells above. Later on we're going to understand why it changed. Just know for now that you can copy formulas. So I can copy and paste over here again, and notice it changed to D here so that you can do the calculations for IT. So you can copy formulas. I think we would have covered copied and paste before. Yeah, cut, copy and paste. And basically anything inside of a cell we can copy. So if I had formatted it, if I had bolded it, underlined it, italics, anything I had it, and I copied it and I paste here, it will get copied also. So anything that is inside of a cell gets copied along with it. Now, a formula, you need to remember the difference between a formula and a function. A formula looks like this here. It has an equal sign and it has either cells or a number inside of it with an operator, a plus, a minus, a multiplication, whatever the case would be. It has an operator inside of it. But a function now doesn't need operators because it's a built-in mathematical formula. The function has all of that operators, all the operators already built into it. So all you have to do is use the function. You don't have to use any operators, and it will do the calculation on the values. So some examples of functions are sum, which is used to total. So if you want to add up something, you would use sum. Average is used to get an average value. Max is used to get the largest value. Min is used to get the smallest. Later on, there's another topic on functions, and we're going to look at how we use all of these functions, how we make them. So let's move on to autofill now. Autofill is basically like another form of copying, so we can see how we can make use of it. Atavia?
Autofill. When you enter a formula that you need to copy to other cells, then the autofill feature will help you. The autofill command instructs Excel to copy cells, including formulae, functions from one selected cell, row or column to adjacent cells. You may also use autofill with the text and numbers without formulae, such as month or actual numbers. Excel's autofill will fill a block of cells with either numbers or text depending on what is located in the first cell. Here are the steps. Click on the cell with the data, move the mouse to the right corner of the cell. The pointer should change that thin crosshair, figure 7.11. Click and drag the mouse to fill the other cells, figure 7.12. When working with numbers, however, you must enter two cells of data so that Excel knows by how much the number should be increased each time.
Good. So autofill is basically like a more easier way of copying something that is already in a cell. So to do it, you have to move your cursor to the very end of the cell, like this image here, and then you will see a crosshair looking symbol icon. You click that and you drag it to adjacent cell. You either drag it up, drag it to the right, drag it to the left, or drag it down. But it has to be adjacent cells that are next to each other. So one example of autofill. So remember just now I was copying these formulas in order to paste them over here. So that actually takes a lot of time for me to go here, copy, and then paste. Autofill now actually makes that easier. With autofill now, I can go to the thin cross here at the bottom here, click on it, and drag to the right. Drag across those cells. When I release, it copies the formula over there. So that is autofill. It copies the formula or whatever is inside the cell onto the next cells, the next adjacent cells that you would have dragged it across. Another use of autofill is, say for instance you want to number something. So say I want to number these students' name. So let me just insert a row here. So say for instance I want to number them. So if I put 1 here, then I would have to put 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So just imagine this is a lengthy table and I'm numbering the table. So imagine if there was 30 students, I would have to continue 6, 7, and so on. But with autofill, I don't have to do that. In autofill, I can go to the thin cross here again, click on it, and bring it down. And notice it copied the 1. But look at the bottom here, you're going to see autofill options. And here now, when you click on it and you click the option to fill series, it will automatically increment it by 1. So that way now we can easily maybe number something, a table, or so on. Now, if you want to increment by a different value, this was incremented by 1. If you want to increment a different value, you need to use 2 numbers, and basically you need to put the 2 numbers as the difference of how much you want it to be increased by, increment by. So if I'm to say my first number is 1 and I want to increment each new number by 4, what would the next number here be? Simple maths.
A 5, sir.
A 5, very good. So a 5 here. So that's that 1 to 5 is an increment of 4. What would the next number be? We continue into increment by
9.
9. So look for that 9 So if you want to increment by 4, you highlight the two cells with the two numbers that you want, the 1 and the 5, which is increment of 4, and then you drag the crosshair again to replicate the values to autofill, and notice it incremented by 4. We went to 9, 13, 17, and so on. So if I wanted to increment by 10, I start with 0, I put a 10 there, I highlight the 2 again, and I drag it down again, and I have increments of 10. So this is the thing about Spreadsheet. Spreadsheet doesn't, it has many features that will allow you to put data in a lot faster instead of you having to manually type everything. Another example of the autofill is, say for instance, if you have a word, say for instance Monday. If I autofill this, what do you think would happen? What do you guys think would happen? Just make a guess.
The rest of the days of the week gonna pop up.
Very good. Very nice. So the rest of the days actually does pop up because the system knows that those are the days of the week. So if that continued, it would start back actually from Monday. So autofill.
Fancy like more fancy.
Welcome Shania. Light now come back.
Then had laptop, my phone was charging.
Okay. So autofill allows you to copy this information, but if you had wanted it to remain as Monday, you can go back to the same autofill option, copy cells, and it would copy the cell that you were dragging at first, so that you have Monday all the time. So it all depends on where you want. If you want that one cell to copy throughout, you would use the copy cell option, or if you wanted to increment, you would use the fill series. So that's it for autofill. Good. Let's move on to cell ranges now. Hudson, can you read?
Okay, sir. Often while working in Excel, you may need to select more than one cell. A range is a group of cells that form a rectangle on the screen. In Excel, there are several ways to select a range using the mouse. Drag across adjacent cell, make the first cell of the range active, hold down the Shift key, click the last cell needed to complete the range. Use Edit/Select All or Control-A if you need to select everything within a worksheet. Click on the row headings row number to select an entire row. Click on the column headings column letter to select it and the entire column. Continue.
Let me see.
Excel also.
Alright, you can pause there for now. So, cell ranges, they're basically telling you how you can select a range. So for instance, if I want to select all of this information here, all of this grades here that I have for Kia, Mangal, and Sahid for English, Maths, and IT, if I want to select all of that data, what I can do is what I just did there actually. Click and drag across it so that I highlight all of that cells, so that there is basically a cell range. So what it's saying is that there's different ways that you can do that. You can drag, you can use shift. So I like to use drag more because it's a lot faster. But if your mouse is not working properly, you can left click there, hold shift, and basically select anywhere. And that will get highlighted. Now, if you want to maybe highlight an entire column, you can just click on the column letter at the top here, and you're highlighting that entire column. If you want to highlight an entire row, you just click on the row's name, any one of them, and you're highlighting an entire row. Basically, the next part is about highlighting non-adjacent cells. So when you click in and drag in, or even when you hold shift, it's always cells that are next to each other. Say for instance, now I highlighted all of this, but I don't want this 12, 14, all in grades. I don't want the grades. By clicking and dragging, I won't be able to do that because it always goes over cells related to each other, next to each other. But if you want to highlight cells not next to each other, what you have to do is what it says here. Press and hold the control key. So on your keyboard, you're going to see a key by the name of CTRL. You hold that key and you basically select all the cells that you want. So say for instance, I want this row at the top here, and I want this row at the bottom here. I select my row at the top here, hold my control key, and I select anywhere that I want. And that way now, I am selecting non-adjacent cells or non-adjacent cell ranges. So basically you can select anywhere and highlight it when you hold that control key. So all those gray spaces are spaces that I am highlighting. Now let's look at naming cell ranges. So we looked at how we can highlight a range, or basically select a range. Let's see how we can name that range now. Chitra?
Naming cell ranges. You select range produces an address which includes the upper left cell address and the lower right cell address separated by a colon. In figure 7.14, the range address of the selected cells is A247. If you have to use a range often, you should name the range. Click in the name box, type in meaningful names such as language in figure 7.14 and press enter. The idea of using range names is to make the area of the worksheet easier to work with. Just as you give a file a name that means something to you, so you should give ranges meaningful names. Once you have named a range, you can select it by clicking on the arrow next to the name box. Here are a few rules to follow when naming a range. Range names must begin with a letter. Range names cannot have the same name as a cell address. Range names cannot contain spaces. Use uppercase first letters, an underscore, or a full stop to separate words. Range names cannot contain special characters such as hyphens, dollar signs, or percentage signs. Amperands are number signs. Range names should contain less than 256 characters. Keep in mind that the idea of using range names is for identification. Use names that are simple yet recognizable or related to the data they represent.
Good. So basically, these cells you're highlighting here, they have a name. So originally, they have a range name, and that is something looking like this here. The first cell with a colon and the last cell. So it's always the first topmost left cell and ends with the bottommost right cell. So let's look at a few examples. If I highlighted this here, anyone, what is the range? The colon we just say to. So something to what? What's my range here?
B1 to B5?
No. Remember, it starts with the topmost left cell and it ends with the bottommost right cell.
So B1 to E5.
Very good.
B1 to E5.
Very good. So B1 to E5. Let me try another one.
So B3 E5.
Try again.
No, A3. A3.
So
Huh?
A3 to
E5.
A3 to E5.
E5.
Oh, sorry, G5.
Oh,
G5.
Wow. And I thought I needed glasses. Let me try another one.
Sir, what kind of answer?
We trying another one. This one now. What's this one? What's this range?
AC 54 to AI 59.
Yeah, no.
Good. Very good. So it always starts with that topmost left cell, which is going to be AC 54, and it ends with that bottommost right cell, AI 59. But there's something that you need to note is that each cell has a name, right? We know that. It starts with a column letter and it ends with a row number. So if you, wherever you click and you look at the name box, you can always see that name. AG 57, AD 55, it's always in there. But notice when I highlight this range here, it still has that name, AC 54. It's highlighting the name of the first leftmost cell. Why? Because it doesn't matter what range you select, the name is gonna always start with that first leftmost cell. It's always gonna have that leftmost cell name. I think I would have stated this when we were looking at margin center. Good. So we understand what this here means. A2 to A7. That's the range. But at times now, what may happen is that we have a range of data and we need to use that range often. Say for instance, this is our range of data. And say as a teacher, this is the marks that I give my students and I got to use this data often. What I can do is this range is B1 to E5. So instead of trying to remember B1 to E5 all the time, what I can do is give the range a name. How do I do that? The same name box in this left corner here. So I have my range highlighted and I go into the name box and I delete that B1 and I put in a name. So I'm gonna put in grades and I press enter and I've just renamed this range as grades. So notice wherever I click, I'm getting the name of the cell. This is C4, this is D3, but when I highlight back this range here, see it's giving me that name, grades, because that is now the name of the range. So something else that you need to remember is that the name box can basically also be used like a search box. So if something already has a name and you type it into the name box, it will basically tell you the location. So say for instance, I forget where grades was, where I had my range of grades. So what I can do is go into the name box, type in grades, press enter, and notice it highlighted that range. Another reason why this happens is because cells can only have one unique name. So there should only be one range or one cell in this spreadsheet named grades. That goes for the same cell name. This cell H1, there should only be one cell with that name, H1. Even if I try to rename this range as A1, even if you try it, even if I put in A1, H1 in the top here, it won't work. It'll just take me to that cell, because any cell or any ranges of cell must have a unique name, because it's used for identification. So we can't have, like in the real world, everybody can have maybe the same name. We can't have that in spreadsheet, because we need to identify cells and cell ranges. Now, when you're naming a cell, there's a few rules that you need to follow when you're naming a range. You can even name a single cell. I think that's possible also. So H1, I could rename it to yes, yeah. So it's no longer H1. So if I type in yes at the top here, notice it take me to where H1 is supposed to be. So that has been renamed to yes. So it's a lot more easier to work with, because we remember names more easily than to work with a cell name. Most of the times you use it for a range, because most of the time you're using a range more often. But at times, there will be a time when you use a single cell often, and in those cases you would also give that cell a name. Later on, when we look at addressing, we're gonna look at giving a cell a name. So there's a few rules that you need to follow. The name must begin with a letter. You can't have the same name as a cell address. Well, I just covered that, because the names need to be unique. You cannot have a space. You can use uppercase, underscore, or full stop to separate. So for the name, you could have put like Forest and then a capital N for name, or you put a full stop, or you put an underscore. Either one can work. You cannot contain special characters such as hyphen, dollar sign, percent, ampersand, and so on. Needs to be less than 256 characters, and always remember it's used for identification, so that's why it cannot be the same. Good. So that's it for name ranges. Let's move on to title locking now. Jonathan, do you read? Somebody call Jonathan and wake him up. Jonathan, you there? Okay, Kia, you're up.
Sorry, does not fear.
Well, next time do either.
Okay. Title lock-in. Rows and columns in spreadsheet.
Use not your
Can
best
be
friend,
locked.
you're supposed to know we gun.
Anyways, rows and columns in a spreadsheet can be locked, fixed, or frozen so that they remain on screen and do not scroll when you scroll on a sheet. Locked rows remain stationary when you perform vertical scrolling, whereas locked columns remain stationary when you perform horizontal scrolling. Locking both rows and columns allow you to place titles in a spreadsheet that are always displayed. Data contained in fixed rows and columns cannot be edited. You must perform any data editing in these rows and columns before you fix them. If you try to select a cell in a fixed row or column, the entire row or column is selected, just as if you selected a row or column heading. Freeze the horizontal set of data. Select the row beneath the section that you want to remain visible. Figure 7.15. Select View on the menu bar. Select Freeze Panes.
Alright, so you don't have to read the rest. The rest is basically like the same. So title lock-in is basically, as the title states, it's an ability to lock a title or to lock a heading so that you can see it throughout your document. So let me give you an example. So say for instance we're using the same example here. Maths, English, and IT, and I'm putting in grades. So pretend we have more students, like pretend we got more students. So we can pretend we got more students, and we can pretend that I put in more grades. Now, so I'm putting in more grades. We're pretending that I have more students, and I can't remember what's the heading at the top. I can't remember if this is maths. I can't remember if this is IT. I can't remember if this is English. And imagine if I had more students, what would happen? So every time I'd have to go up to the top, oh, this is maths, come down back, put in my score here, go up back, oh, this is English, come down back, put in my score. So you can see how much of a headache that will be. So what you can do is lock the title or lock that heading so that you can see it throughout the document. And how you do that is, so there's basically three ways of locking. So the first one is locking horizontally. And so if you have your data horizontally or your headings horizontally, which is the rows, you would go to the row just below that. So if my heading is in row 1, I would go to row 2, select any cell in row 2, then I would go to, what does it say, view on the menu bar. So view at the top here, freeze panes, and I'm using this one, freeze top row. So remember, we're freezing the row, and we're freezing the row that's at the top of where I am currently at. So freeze top row, a line just appeared straight across. I don't know if you guys just noticed, but a line just appeared, and that is indicating where the headings have been locked. So if I scroll down now, notice I still have my headings there, so I can continue putting in my grades, going merrily along my way, and I don't have to worry about not seeing my headings. Now, say for instance now my headings are on the side, they're vertical, they're inside of my column now, and I'm putting my data vertically, horizontally, so that I have to scroll to the right every time to put in new data, but I can't see my titles again. Say for instance I want to see the names, and I'm scrolling to the right, but I can't see them anymore. Well, before we get to that, if you want to unfreeze this pane here, you go to freeze pane and you have unfreeze pane. So you unfreeze and you have your document as normal again. Now I want to freeze this B column here with the names of my students. So it's the same thing again. I go to the column just to the right, I go back to freeze pane, and the third option, freeze first column. So the first column would be the column to the first before wherever I would have selected. So I select that, and why did I select that? Let's see. Does it only freeze the first column? So apparently it only freezes that first column. I wonder why they designed it that way. Because I think if I had wanted to freeze this row here, I could go here, freeze top row. Oh, that's freezing the top row also. So I guess we learned something today. The freeze top row and the freeze first column, it's freezing the very first row, and it's freezing the very first column. I've actually never noticed that. And so I'm guessing that's where your headings, if you're designing a table, that is where your headings would have to be, because that's where it would normally be, the first column or the first row. But there's another kind of freeze that you can make use of. What is happening? So I just closed it. Yes, there's another kind of freeze. Oh, interesting. I'm learning a lot of things today. I didn't know I could hide a whole spreadsheet. Yes, so there's another kind of freeze called, that is the third one, freezing both horizontal and vertical data. So you can actually freeze the column here and the row. Well, you know what I mean, the row here and the column. And what you have to do is follow the same rules for freezing the column and the row. You would go to the cell just below the row, which is going to be B2, and you go to the cell just to the right of the column, which is going to be B2 once again. And you select freeze pane. The line appeared here and across here. So now the column is frozen and the row is frozen also. So if I scroll down, the row is frozen, and if I scroll to the right, the column is frozen. I think for this option here, it allows you to freeze anywhere. So if I select 12 and I select freeze pane, so you see the line appeared here. So you use the freeze pane now if you have different headings. So if you had headings in row 3, you use the freeze pane option instead of using the top row in the first column. So if I wanted to freeze from 13 here, freeze pane. So when I scroll down, I have all that information, and when I scroll to the right, I have all of that information. So you guys see the importance of title locking?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good. Well, that has brought us to the end of 7.2. So these questions are your homework. It's already been posted. So have fun with that. Now, we still have 11 more minutes, so let's briefly touch on 7.3. So before we move off from 7.2, is there any questions? Anything you guys didn't understand?
No, sir.
We looked at formulae and functions, the difference between the two. We looked at autofill, how we can copy the data. We looked at creating a range, a cell range, then naming that range, and then using title locking. Y'all understand everything? Good, so we're starting with 7.3, and I think, Jonathan, you came back?
Yes, sir. Batman is alive.
Good. Well, you'll have to help out Kia because Kia helped you just now, so you're gonna read the next paragraph.
All right, sir. Sir, I'm coming. I'll just open the file from my phone. So,
It's on the screen also. Anyway,
yes, sir. As with other computer appliances, the best results come from thinking about the task
That
at
is
hand.
application, not application.
Wait, what? Wait, what we got to read? Wait, what we got to read? Wait. This now we got to read?
Yeah, but you said appliance, the word is application.
Oh, shit, sorry.
Travis, why you
So,
breaking up, sir?
but hey, mom, know me no man. As with other computer applications, the best results come from thinking about the task in hand. When planning a worksheet, ask yourself the following four questions. 1. What is the goal of the worksheet? 2. What are the desired results or outputs? Number 3. What data is needed to calculate the results or inputs? Number 4. What calculations are needed to produce desired results?
alright, pause there.
Um,
So,
nice.
basically, when you are designing a spreadsheet, at times you might be designing it for yourself or you might be designing it for someone. When we say designing it, what we mean is that we're creating a spreadsheet to put in data. So for instance, let me show you how I use spreadsheet for my class. So this here is fifth form, and I would create a table, I would put the names, then I would put the grades and so on. Then I would use it for mark book and all of that. So you would design a spreadsheet so as to put in data. Now you have to ask these questions here. What is the goal of the spreadsheet? What am I making the spreadsheet for? Am I making it to just put in data? Am I making it to put in data and do calculation? Am I putting in data and so that I can present this data with graphs and so on? So you have to ask those questions. Why am I making it? So in that way now, you can know how to design it, how to put in your layout and so on. So next question, what are the desired results? Do I want results right in the table or right in the spreadsheet for just myself to see the calculations, to see the result, and that's it? Am I making it just for myself, or am I making it for my boss? I have to produce a graph, I have to produce a table so that they can see the results of maybe some kind of trend. So that's also what you need to think about. What data is needed to calculate? Numbers, currency, weather information. What kind of data do I need? How do I need to format my spreadsheet in order to accept this data? And what calculations are needed to produce that desired results? So what formula can I use? What function can I use? What operators? Things like that. So these questions you need to ask yourself when you are making a spreadsheet. Continue, Jonathan.
Sometimes a spreadsheet is created to solve a problem for just one user and is never used again. It is set up quickly to get some result, but the appearance is not important. No one other than the creator of the worksheet will see it, since it will only be used once. The creator of such a spreadsheet would still consider the four questions above, just not in a structured way. Another form of worksheet is one that will be used many times, but only its creator will be using it. So the author will take a little more time with the above questions, and the layout and appearance of the spreadsheet will probably be better. The final category of spreadsheet is one set up for someone else. More time, more time must be taken to answer above questions, and the spreadsheet will need good design and good documentation. Since other people will have access to this spreadsheet, the creator of the worksheet may have to meet with these users many times so that they can make suggestions and approve it until it is finalized.
Good. So there's basically two kinds of spreadsheet you can make. One for yourself, and sometimes you might just want some simple results to do a simple calculation or to record information. So you just throw in your information anyhow. You don't care about design. You just put it in because you just wanted to store information, do a quick calculation, and give you back results. It's for your use, so it doesn't matter how it look. But there are other situations where you might be hired by someone and they ask you to create a spreadsheet in order to put in their information. Say for instance now, you're hired by a supermarket and they want you to create a spreadsheet so that it's not a big supermarket like DSL, maybe a small one. They're now starting up. And they want you to create a simple spreadsheet because they need to pay for software like what is it called? QuickBook. Yeah, they may pay for QuickBook. So they want to just use a simple software like spreadsheet. Now you gotta ask them questions now. Because remember, someone else is gonna use this spreadsheet. You would know how you're designing it, but you need to design it in such a way that this person can recognize that this part here, I put in this information, this part here, I put in that, this part here, put in this, and so on. So when they look at it, they're not confused. And then it must have a neat layout, nice borders, nice colors, formatted, and so on. So you need to think about the person in this case and what data do you want. Alright, let's look at our last topic, Arithmetic Formulae. Pia, can you read for us?
If you have many operators in a formula, it is important to follow the rules for the order of operators. You have probably come across the word BODMAS in maths. The first letter of each word stands for the
Mnemonic.
operator. Sorry, same thing. Anyways, brackets, parenthesis. Take a proceed.
Good
I
try.
can't pronounce these words. Take precedence. Oh, what's the word? Precedence over any other operator. The computer may calculate the part of the formula in the brackets first. Where's the next? I can't. I did it times. Oh. Order. Order means anything raised to the power of a number such as 2 squared. Division and multiplication are calculated next, in the order left to right as they appear in the formula. Addition and subtraction are the last two operations to be carried out. Again, these are calculated in order as they appear from left to right in the formula. In a spreadsheet, formulae are used to calculate answers based on a mathematical equations that you create. When creating formulae, you may use actual values equals 7 times 5 bracketed, cell addresses, bracket equals C4 plus D4 plus B25 bracketed. A combination of the two equal bracket equals C17 times 8 bracket. To enter a formula, click the cell where you want insert the formula. 2, press equal sign. 3, enter the formula. 4, press enter.
Good. Good try. So, a formula in spreadsheet follows the same rules that you would have learned in maths. So, almost anything that you're doing in spreadsheet, you need to follow rules that you would have learned elsewhere. Rules that you would have learned in English, rules that you would have learned in maths, mostly maths. So, one of the rules that you need to follow is BODMAS. Most of you should know BODMAS is primary school. BODMAS follows brackets first. So anything in a bracket gets calculated first. Anything. After that is order, then division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Now, something else you should note is that as the equations appear in the formula, it's always read left to right. Remember that. So the equation, the operations, they're always read left to right. So if I have a lot of confusion here, if I have, let me take off this pen. If I have equal 2 plus minus good blah blah blah, all of that. If I have all of that in my formula, now it's gonna calculate this first. Then when I get that result, it's gonna calculate this, then this, then this. So it always goes left to right. So that is why when you design your formula, if you want something to be calculated first, you put it so you start your formula with that equation. Now, another thing is brackets. So brackets are used to show what you want calculated first. So say for instance, I have all of these 2's here. So we put 3 plus 2 minus 1 plus 4 multiplied by 5 plus that minus that, and so on. So this is my formula here. Now, if I wanted 4 and 5 to be multiplied first, I would put them in a bracket. So open bracket around 4, close bracket around 5, and that will be calculated first. Now, you can add more brackets in your formula. Just like maths, you can add more brackets. If I want, after this 4 and 5 to be calculated, I want the 2 to be added, I put another bracket again. So notice this bracket here changed to red because the system is recognizing the two different brackets. It's recognizing this red one and it's recognizing this black one here. And if I wanted another operation, say this 1 to be calculated with this result here, I could add another bracket, and we could add brackets endlessly if you want. Notice the color of the bracket here changed to purple because it's now recognizing 3 different brackets. So brackets are always calculated first, then the other levels in BODMAS. So make use when in future exercises, your SB and so on, make use of brackets so that you can show what you want to calculate first. It's always important to make use of your bracket. But that doesn't mean when you type, if you have an equation like 4 plus 2, you're gonna put 4 and 4 plus 2 in a bracket. That doesn't make sense because that's the only operation going on there. Doesn't make sense to put them in a bracket. If you had something else, 4 plus 2, 4 plus 4 minus 4, then you would make use of a bracket so that you can indicate what you want to calculate first. Now, there are 3 ways you can write your formula. Doesn't matter which one. You can use actual values, so actual numbers, 7 and 5, 13, 14, with any number you can use in your calculation. You can use cell addresses. This is the more effective way because if the numbers change, if the values change, things will recalculate. So you use the cell names, or you can do a combination of the cell name and a number. And remember to always start your formula with your equal sign. So we're going to stop here for today. Next week we're going to continue with functions, and we're going to look at the different functions that we have and how we can make use of them. So any questions on what do you mean tonight, Trevon? Okay. So any questions on what we looked at today? You guys understand everything so far? Class, we're ending. I need to know if you understand.
Yes, sir, I understand everything, sir.
Chelsea,
Yes, sir.
Chitra,
Yes, sir.
Kia. Any difficulties?
No, sir.
Well, your only difficulty is English. So,
Right?
if you guys don't have any questions, this has brought us to the end of today's class. Ensure you do your homework. Sorry, just left us like that. Ensure you do your homework and submit. Have a good night. Enjoy your weekend.
Good night, sir.
Good night, sir.
Bye, sir.